Hello, everybody, and welcome to my rewrite of the DP anime. If you all remember, or for those unaware, before part 10 of my BW rewrite, which was going to be the return of Dawn, I made a DP rewrite video, which established that this was an alternate timeline. However, that was back in the early months of my channel, where any video that wasn't the BW rewrite wasn't scripted and I just winged it. Obviously, that didn't go well, and as time went by, I scripted more videos beyond the series, include more videos like the original, but with more research and detail. And now, with the BW rewrite complete, Gens 1, 2, 3, and 6 done, and with the little rewrite in progress, I decided to go back and redo DP, the very first video that started this. Disclaimer, before we get started, since this is a remaster, there are going to be some things that either stayed, changed, or were added from the original. And of course, this is my rewrite, so don't get mad if something you liked from the original video or the canon isn't here. Okay? Okay. With that said, let's hop into things. And as always, we start with teams. And of course, we got to start with Ash. As you can see, he has most of the same team from the original series, but with the sad removal of Gliscor and Gimbal. And look, this hurts me. It really does. I liked them, but looking back, they were honestly the worst members. Gliscor literally only had 2 wins and a tie. Alright, well, Gimbal was caught way too late to really do anything. Sadly, I had to say adios. So replacing them is the 6th member, Lucario, because it was honestly ridiculous I didn't catch one here. Like, they had an opportunity right there and they just wasted it. So I'm changing that here. But in case you're worried about Infernape, he's still the ace. And as for the rest of the team, they're still here and they all as you can see at the bottom, I'm still traded for Weasel. But yeah, this is Ash's Sinnoh team. Pikachu, Staraptor, Torterra, Infernape, Weasel, and Lucario. Now on to Dawn. She has Piplup, Baneri, Pachirisu, Ambipom, Glaceon, and Cyndaquil. Like Ash, Dawn has mostly the same team mechanic, but with the removal of Mamoswine and Togekiss, with Glaceon replacing the form, and the latter never getting caught, to keep Ambipom, who was still traded for Weasel and not released because it was stupid. Like, you were gonna pull this, what was the point of Ambipom's story? You might as well have Ash release Weasel, but they didn't, so Dawn should have kept Ambipom. Anyway, moving on. Like I teased back in the AG video, Dawn has a Glaceon that won't be going to May. Why? Because Zoe had Leafeon, like what I do with Ash and Gary. Let's do this with them too. Anyway, the rest of the team is still here. Now we finally got the man, DP Brock. He has Steelix, Ninetales, Sudowoodo, Krogan, Chansey, and Rhyperior. Once again, he keeps Steelix and Vulpix. Vulpix evolves in the final to give Brock's full transition to his new Pokemon doctrine. I know what you're going to say in case you saw Zakshi's video, but it was a good idea. Yeah, so shout out to him for that. As for the rest, the 3 from Canada are still here, but with the new addition of Rhyperior. I added this was Brock's last series with Ash, and I wanted to give him a powerful Pokemon to represent that he's still awesome. Also, that would be a cool representation, because Udawoo evolves from Bonsai, a new baby evolution from Gen 4. Rhyperior represents a new evolution. That's cool. Well, before we continue doing this, we'll go what I do with the XY rivals. Also, we have a bunch of more characters. Nothing too crazy, but yeah. Now we're on to Paul. He has Torterra, Electivire, Magmortar, Honchkrow, Weavile, Ursaring, Gliscor, Gastron, Spiritomb, and Aggron. Honestly, all I do is take away some members and add these 2 new ones. Gastron may not look good, but I want Paul to have more tough-looking Pokemon. Oh, honestly, Spiritomb here, because honestly, I can see Paul having one. And he make it work, Gastron. Next, we have Barry with Empoleon, Roserade, Hitmonlee, Skarmory, Rapidash, and Chatot. This team combines Pokemon from the anime and Rapidash from the games and Chatot from the manga. Honestly, these are Pokemon you just see Barry with. Next, we're on to a new addition for Ash's Rivals, which is Riley. He has Lucario, Absol, Rampardos, Mamoswine, Scizor, Luxray, and Feraligatr. Making his team, we had to include Lucario, and for the rest, were based off his stat. He specializes in high attack, so he had to go for Pokemon that specialize in that. Also, these guys really fit in my eyes. Now we're on to Nando. He has Kricketune, Roserade, Armaldo, Lopunny, Sunflora, and Altaria. His original team was honestly perfect, minus the extra Kricketot, which I'm replacing with an Altaria. Because, I mean, come on, it's pretty explanatory. Dude, we got a singing team. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Let's just move on. Let's do Zoe now. She has Glameow, Miss Magius, it's Westside Gastron, Togekiss, Gallade, and Leafeon. The only real change here is replacing her Luminia with the Togekiss that won't be going to Dawn. Why? Because I think Togekiss suits Zoe, at least in my eyes. Finally, we have Kenny. He has Empoleon, Alakazam, Breloom, Floatzel, Machamp, and Xatu. Nothing really changed except for the addition of Xatu to give him a sixth member. I don't know, I just think it would be cool. So, with all that said and done, let's officially hop into the series. We begin with Following a Maiden's Voyage, which introduces us to our new female character, Dawn. We see her home life, her getting ready to start her journey, meeting Professor Rowan, and the whole Pokemon thing going down. And with Dawn befriending Piplup, seeing Mesprit, and getting her journey with Piplup by her side. We then transition to Ash, who's now arriving in Sinnoh with Pikachu and Apom by his. Once there, Ash calls Professor Oak and Tracy, but Team Rocket steals Pikachu, and due to their own ridiculousness, they and Pikachu are blasted off in separate directions. So Ash goes to find Pikachu in the end of the episode, with Ash and Dawn beginning their journeys in separate paths. The next episode, we cut back to Dawn, who officially begins her journey and tries to catch a new Pokemon badly. And she then meets Ash's Pikachu, and this goes worse as her bike is burned. Pikachu's then surrounded by Team Rocket, but with Dawn's help, they're gone. Dawn then takes Pikachu to the Pokemon Center, where she calls her mom and Ro, and vows to bring Pikachu back to his trainer. Oh yeah, and James also gets his old Carnivine friend from old vacay place. Back to Ash, he and Apom are trying to find Pikachu with no success. They then run into Officer Jenny, who drives them to Rowan's lab, where Ash gets Apom's Pokeball and learns where Pikachu is now. So the two have to find them. And on the way, Ash unites with Brock, who joins them with their woman who was with, reveals she had a boyfriend. Bummer, bro. But with that, Ash gets Starly to air search for Pikachu. And once again, both sides take out trying to find the other. We get into another trainer by the name of Paul. Finally, we have When Pokemon Worlds Collide. Here, Ash and Paul meet and clash over their training styles. And when he leaves, Ash and Brock see Dawn, Phillip, and Pikachu dealing with Team Rocket, so they help out. And in the end, the machine explodes, and Team Rocket are blasting off again. With them gone, Ash and Pikachu finally reunite, and alongside Apom, Pikachu meets Starly. The trio then introduce themselves and call what Paul sees what Pikachu did. After meeting Officer Jenny, they head to the lab where Ash changes into his clothes, calls his mom Professor Oak, and the gang discuss their plans. And they decide to travel together. When they step outside, they find Paul, and he and Ash finally battle. It's a 3v3 between Ash's Starly, Apom, and Pikachu versus Paul's own Starly, Chimchar, and Elekid. And yes, plays out like canon. And nothing really changes, and this battle ultimately ends with their rivalry formed. Following that battle, the trio officially begins their journey together with the events of Dawn of a New Era, Getting Twiggy with It, Different Strokes for Different Blokes, Like It or Love It, Jim and Bailier setting the world on its veneering, and Not on My Watch You Don't. Then we get the Jubilife contest, with Dawn's contest debut, Ash giving it a try, and the introduction of Zoe. And like Ken, she wins, but both Ash and Dawn had fun, and the latter vows to win the next one. With the contest now over, we go through the events of A Staravia is born, and leave it to Bracco. After that, the trio then makes it to Orberg City and heads to the gym, but unfortunately Paul was already there, so Ash has to wait his turn. Paul versus Rourke plays out pretty much the same as Ken, and ending in Paul's victory. Although I should mention that Rourke's Geodude is replaced with the Larvitar, because we honestly didn't need everybody. Honestly, everybody has a Geodude line, but we gotta change that. It's a bit ridiculous. Following that, of course, Ash is on Rourke, and also like Ken, he loses because his attention was on proving Paul wrong. After that, we get Wild in the Streets, and after that, taking care of Ash challenges Rourke again, and this time does better thanks to having more folk. It's the spin dodge, and even though Cream was now in part, all those Turtic manages to come in clutch and win Ash the Coal Badge. With Ash's first Sinnoh badge in hand, we'd see twice smitten, once shy, mutiny on the bounty, borrowing on bad faith, faced with determination, but it's Brock focus, cooking up a sweet story. Oh, do you know the Poffin plan? And funny title. We then had the Floroma contest two-part, where we meet Dawn's childhood friend Kenny, and Dawn wins her first contest. With that, we'd have Drifloon on the win, the Champ Twins, the Eternal Forest, or at least a mini arco where the game meets Cheryl, all dressed up with somewhere to go. Weasel your way out of this in a leading meet and greet and a secret sphere of influence. Ash battles Guardian at 3v3 with Turtwig, Staravian, 8-Bomb versus Cherim, Guardian's own Turtwig, and Rose Raid. It ends with 8-Bomb earning Ash the Forest Badge. Post that win, we get one big Happini family, Steamboat Willies, top down training, a stand up sit down, Malice in Wonderland, ill will hunting, and amazing race. It's an episode with Mira in Wayward Cave. After that, the gang heads to Hearthome City, and once the gym found out to be a bust, Don goes to the city's contest with Nando and Zoe. And this goes as you probably expect. Sorry, Don. Following the loss, the trio participates in the Hearthome tag battle. And do I even need to explain this? It's perfect and a great way to end the season. And so it's not going anywhere. Following that, we begin the episodes Tears for Fears, Once They Were Greenfield. Only James does not give Caddy the Gardenia. Sorry, but we need to see this. Then there's Throwing the Track Switch, the Keystone Pops, a Lost Tower episode for Rock, Luxray Vision, Slaceon Ruins two-parter. After this is the Slaceon Town contest. This ends in its first round exit once again in Jesselina's victory. And sorry, Don. After that is Tanks for the Memories, Hot Spring a League, two sand episodes. Two episodes in San Diego. First having Brock catch Rhyhorn, and the next being Cassidy and Butch coming back. Then there's Lost Leader Strategy, which of course leads into Don on Helene get her confidence back in the gym battle. It's Veneri, Amipom, and Piplup versus Meditite and Lucario. Dawn fights hard, but unfortunately, Maylene proves she isn't a gym leader for nothing, and Dawn loses. But for her first gym battle, she wasn't bad, and Maylene is more than ready for a battle with Ash. Their official gym battle is a 3v3, with Imchar, Staravia, and Weasel versus the same two Pokemon, but him on top, because I think it'd be cool. Also, she has in the game, so why not? But the battle still ends in a draw like can. Despite that, Maylene and her Pokemon had a great time against Ash, so he says he's worthy of the Cobble Badge. Following that, we had the episode Intergalactic, where the trio gets officially introduced to Team Galactic, and we learn more about them. Of course, following that is the Pokemon Ranger and the Kidnap Riolu two-parter. This follows canon up till the ending, as Riolu has no breeder to go back to, instead of just being looked after by Pokemon Rangers, and seeing the bond they built together, Ash and Riolu officially become partners. After that are the episodes Crossing Paths and Pika and Goliath, which both follow canon. Sorry, Jess. But hey, buy a butter free again, but better. If Jessie can't find love, at least she can do it for her Pokemon. Next, following these are our Cup Runner Thop full course tag battle and the Wallace Cup. And yes, I'm putting these episodes together since they're connected. With the changes being that one, Ash, Brock, and May already know who Wallace is. Shellos takes his place on Zoe's team, and much like Altara, take Wartortle and Glaceons on May's team. But of course, Dawn still wins the ribbon. And sorry for the goober, by the way. After that is the Thief That Keeps on Thieving, Chimchar, and Cream of the Krogan Crop. And after that, Ash is a gym battle with Crasher Wake. And while Ashley uses the same three Pokemon from King alongside Wake's Floatzel, he instead of having Gyarados and Quagsire, he has Poliwrath and Swampert. Why? Because they fit his whole Wrestle theme better. Also, come on, look at Swampert and look at him. Sure, the cousin will fully match what I mean. Come on, it's a perfect. Why didn't they have it? Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, Ash still wins the battle and of course gets the Fen badge. He halfway there to the Sinnoh League. Post that win, we have a notice where John catches Eevee, notice where Dawn Eevee's new partnership gets some mentoring from Gary and his Umbreon, arriving in style, and notice where Chimchar and Riolu, which leads into the Summer Academy arc, where we meet Angie, reunite with Conway, and have a great week of fun learning more about Pokemon with Professor Rowan. After the camp, we got playing the leveling field and Doc Brock. They don't have no change. Next is Dawn's contest in Celestia Town, where she wins the ribbon, defeating an old rival of her mother. After that is losing its illustrious double team turnover, a two-part for just give her better treatment, a train child reunion, aiding the enemy, and berries busting all over or out all over. But for this, so Ash and Barry have a different Pokemon for their battle, as Charizard replaces Berry Staraptor and Riolu replaces Gliscor. Finally, Ash has his official gym battle against Fantine, and the only change here is that Staravia replaces Pikachu, and for the counter shield, it's Hidden Power. But despite that, Ash of course still comes out on top and gets the Relic Badge. Following that victory, the gang heads to Canalave City for episode of Brock's Rhyhorn evolves, Sleepless in pre-battle, Get Your Rotom running, an episode for Dawn and her team, Ancient Family Matters, but make it a double by what Onyx and Steelix added. May seem like a weird episode, but what the on some father and son stuff. But after the father and son duels over, Ash gets his gym battle with Pyron, and once again, the single change here is that Riolu replaces Gliscor. But like Gliscor, Riolu defeats Bastiodon to win Ash the Mind Badge. With that one under his belt, we go through the Iron Island two-part, with Ash and Riolu playing a bigger role in helping Riley and his Lucario, with Ash's Riolu evolving into its own Lucario, and the Cortex combining their ore to save the day. However, we're not done. We have one more episode on the island where Ash was to train with Riley. Together, they work on Ash and Lucario's aura, helping Lucario adjust to his new body and get stronger. This comes down to a battle between the two that is intense and showcases their hard work. But unfortunately for Ash, Riley wins, which, despite the loss, both had fun and agreed to meet and battle again, becoming rivals. Next is the Chocovine episode for Fiona, where the gang is a helper from Team Rocket, only is better than the actual episode in canon. After that is the Chocovine Town contest, but to us forwards replacing Ursula, who's not introduced yet. Dawn uses Eevee instead of Pachirisu, but just still wins the ribbon. After that is stealing the conversation, pursuing a lofty goal, and stopped in the name of love. Then we, of course, have the Sandal Straw contest. While Dawn still loses to Ken, and with this being his fourth rib, but it helps Amipon's development in the following. So, to Thine on Pokemon Be Truth, which in this, when Dawn and Amipom win the ping pong tournament, the two good ideas for their next contents, and like I said earlier, Amipom is not released because it was stupid. When I already ranted about this, so I won't do it again. And after that is the Drifting Snow, but have it be a Rio teamwork episode where Dawn and Eevee get lost to the Frost. Ross will trying to help out and help Ash deals with the Poacher and Brock treats her Snow. While getting back to the others, Dawn and Eevee find Ice Rock where Eevee evolves into Glaceon. Shout out to Chris is as G1P2H for the idea. Then there's battling acute drama and classroom training. Following that is Ash's gym with Candace. It's a 4-on-4 between Sneasel, Frostlass, Mamoswine, and Abomasnow versus Ash's Grotto, Weasel, Lucario, and Chimchar. One change I'd make here is that Lucario and Mamoswine battle ends in a draw. But aside from that, Abomasnow evens the battle like Candace, and Chimchar comes out with that strategy of Ash's to win Ash the Icicle Badge. After receiving his 7th badge, Paul shows up, which leads to a Pyramid Rage, where Brandon returns and Paul challenges him to a battle where he gets humiliated, as well as a reality check. Oh yeah, Paul and Ash get a full battle scheduled by Reggie. Following that battle is Pillars of Friendship, which is then followed by Frozen on their tracks. And once again, and we finally arrive at Lake Acuity for Ash and Paul's full battle. And the only real change here is that Lucario defeats Honchkrow, but in the end, Ash still gets wrecked, which of course leads to his depression and comeback and uncrushing defeat. We of course then get a Gateway to Ruin, which will be the last in Galactic before the big event. We then go back to Twinleaf Town for the festival arc, which is a pretty fun time for the cast. And if losing the Palmer, Ash was about the Sinnoh Battle Frontier. Oh yeah, and Brock gets a protector. Well, it makes him a little redundant. We also get another arc in the Johto Festival, which brings back Riley, surprisingly, alongside Richie and Casey, and introduces Ash and Coach Jimmy, Marina, and Vincent. All of blasted our characters and enjoy winning the festival. During this time, Brock's riding on All's Dawn gets Cyndaquil, Riley reveals he's entering the Sinnoh League, Dawn and Maria enter a contest together, which they don't win. When there's the Pokeathlon, other events, and they deal with Team Rocket, who, thanks to their boss, Mike, Troho, and Luke, yeah, but they save the day, and in the end, we get that tag battle, but it's Ash and Junior versus Richie and Casey, with the former two coming out on top. After that, we would get the Team Galactic 3-parter, which aside from the obvious, doesn't change. And the whole thing was built up and done extremely well, so I wouldn't change anything about it. With the day saved, the journey continues. So we have the treasure is all mine, mastering current events, but Staraptor replaces Gliscor. She only loses in the first bet. All that training helped learn a new move, but here it's Ominous One, which helps him win in the rematch. So because of that, Staraptor stays in the team. Then there's double time battle training, but in the double battle, it's between Glaceon and Baniri versus Togekiss and Leaf. There's always fifth ribbon. The battle is immensely, seriously close, but by the end, Dawn wins, getting her first victory over Zoe. Then there's regaining the home advantage and short and to the punch. We of course then get the Daybreak contest with Dawn, Jesselina, and Ursula, who in this time and won't be a rival, but losing to Dawn in the final, she respects Sir and becomes nicer. So after that, we would have the fighting fire with ire. Ire with fire, sorry. And then there's Flint Sparks the Fire, the Fleeting Tower of Sunny Shore, teaching the student teacher, keeping in top 4, Pokemon Ranger, Heatran Rescue, and Elite Cover Up, and Dawn of a Royal Day. Only Dawn doesn't get Togekiss from her lookalike. Finally, it's time for the Grand Festival, with Dawn off her rivals entering, ready to win. Unfortunately, Kenny goofs up and is knocked out in the first round. Sorry, man. And as for the others, they do excellent, making it all the way to the semi-finals. Of course, we have the same matchups of Nando versus Zoe and Dawn versus Jesselina, with the only change that the latter battle happens first. And of course, Dawn and Zoe face off in the finals, and it's Glameon Gallade versus Piplup and Ambipom, which really, is what should have happened. The battle is intense and both give it their all. It's super close, but Dawn is a smidge more points than Dawn, which unfortunately wins her the battle and the Grand Festival. Though bummed, Dawn takes the loss well, wishing her rivals well, and heads back to Sunny Super C with Ash and Brock for Ash's gym battle with Volkner. At last, his final Sinnoh gym badge awaits. Ash and Volkner have a 3v3 between Electivire, Jolteon, and Luxray versus Torterra, Pikachu, and Infernape. Online canon, however, Torterra actually defeats Electivire, but still goes on to Jolteon due to her speed. Pikachu defeats her, but loses to Luxray. Finally, Infernape comes out, and you probably know what happens there. There Blaze and defeats Luxray, giving Ash the Beacon Badge. Success. With all 8 badges in hand, the gang heads into the docks for their next destination, where the events of 4 roads diversion of Pokemon Port and bucking the treasure trend happen, but with no changes. And after the latter, the gang take a boat to Lily of the Valley Island for the Sinnoh League Lily of the Valley Conference. After registering a reunite with his rivals, and even Conway, surprisingly, Ash gets ready for the competition. And of course, he decides to bring his old Pokemon in an old family blend. We see Ash's old Mons, although of course they're different in this alternate timeline. Also, we cover the Quilava illusions has already happened. Sorry, y'all, but I just couldn't see Ash with the Typhlosion. After that, the tournament officially begins. In the first round, however, Ash battles a girl named Island with his Bayleaf, Corphish, Snorlax versus her Tangrowth, Vespiquen, and Grumpig. And in case you didn't recognize, this is where the would-be trainer Ash is in the second round in the original by pushing it up to here, so Ash can face Nando in the second round. This battle does play pretty similar to Ken, only we actually get to see Quilava versus Armaldo. Well, no, because honestly, I do this because Nando deserved to at least get past the first round. I liked him; he was a cool guy. He deserved this, even if he. Although I will think he should have went higher, but I'll satisfy with this for now. Anyway, now we're on to the top 16, where we have Paul versus Barry. And this battle fully follows canon. Sorry, Barry, you fought hard, but Paul's just better. So, Paul goes on to the quarterfinals. After that, it's Ash versus Conway. While Conway still uses the same Pokemon, Ashley uses Donphan, Noctowl, and Gibble replaced with Mantine and Flygon. But Flygon does come in clutch like Gibble did to get Ash into the quarterfinals as well for his 6v6 battle with Paul. Again, Ash is the original team. However, Paul, while still using Aggron, Gastrodon, Electivire, he has Gliscor, Spiritomb, and Torterra. Torterra replaces Drapion because I feel like it would have been much better if Ash defeated Paul's first ever Pokemon. Also, come on, a mirror match between the two Torterras would have been way cool. And just you're wondering, since Torterra can't learn Toxic Spike, so taking its place will be Stealth Rock. Gliscor and Spiritomb are Pokemon that could totally serve as real challenges for Ash, which can honestly fit Paul better in my eyes than Frostlask and Ninjask. I was looking wrong. The original was awesome. I just made these changes. I thought, let's naturally battle these mons. At least saw them in action. Be more fit and more impactful if he defeated them. But don't worry, the final battle still plays with the exact same as Ken. Infernape versus Electivire, ending in the former's victory. And with that, Paul acknowledges Ash's training style and Infernape's growth. Both train and film on mutual respect as Paul leads to rematch Brandon, and Ash moves on to the semifinals, winning the battle. In the top four, Ash takes on Riley in another full battle, with Riley using the team of Absol, Rampardo, Scizor, Feraligatr, Luxray, and Mamoswine versus Ash's Primeape, Espeon, Sceptile, Tyranitar, Torkoal, and Pikachu. After battling Riley and researching him a bit, Ash went with hard hitters that are either speedy or tanky. Both wanted to use Lucario for this battle, but both Lucarios refused. But not because of the Paul battle, because both of them wanted the battle back on Iron Island, a 1v1 between the both of them. They worked and trained their strength and aura together, and so they both want this to be a battle only they can have. Their trainers respect that, so they battle without them. But anyway, despite that, their battle is still intense, and it comes down to Pikachu versus Mamoswine. The time Pikachu holds his own, but in the end, he falls to a close match, winning Riley a battle and advancing him to the finals. Despite the battle, both trainers had some unfinished business, so they fight the battle again so Lucarios can settle the score. They know just the place, though no one in the audience knows this. Anyway, in the finals, Riley battles a trainer named Ace, who's pretty tough, but loses to Riley's Lucario on a 2-0, which wins Riley the Sinnoh League Lily of the Valley Conference, bringing the tournament to a close. After saying their goodbyes and parting ways, Ash could take a boat off the island, where we get the events of The Brockster is In, which follows and serves the same purpose as canon. Afterwards, the trio discussed their plans, with Ash making an announcement saying he's going to take on the Sinnoh Valley Frontier. After learning about it from Palmer and they're battling him and Riley, Ash knew his Sinnoh journey wasn't over yet. And so Ash said he's going to take it on, but if they wanted to head off, he's respect that. But both of them want to help him through this, so they stay. Ash thanks them, and they take another boat to the island of the Battle Frontier. Here, the trio arrive and they get information of who and what Ash will face. However, on the Battle Frontier in Kanto, Ash has to take this one with just his Sinnoh team, believing they've earned it they'll win against Paul. During this journey, they'll explore the island. We meet the Frontier Brain. Brock will go more into depth of being a doctor. At least he get more experience in that field. Now we'll go over Ash's battles in order, starting with Ash versus Thornton in the Battle Factory. It's a 2v2, where Thornton uses a computer to choose both his and his opponent's Pokemon. The chosen Pokemon were Weasel and Pikachu versus Drifloon and Cradily. Thornton's intelligence is a force to be reckoned with, but Ash overcomes it and wins the factory print. After that, Ash battles Dahlia at the Battle Arcade in a 3v3 with Infernape, Torterra, and Staraptor versus Magnus and Ludicolo and Togekiss. This battle is tougher than the last one because while the Pokemon do get out, the trainer has to do a roulette to either help or hinder their Pokemon. But in the end, Ash thankfully gets the upper hand with some luck and emerges the winner, receiving the arcade point. Following that is Ash versus Argenta in the Battle Hall, and she takes on her opponents in /single contest-like battles. She chooses a double battle, and it's Infernape and Lucario versus Swallow and Purg Ugly. Ash struggles due to both him and his Pokemon never doing a double contest before. But using what he learned from Don, his own experience, he helps his Pokemon adapt, and they manage to come out on top, earning the Hall point. But we're not quite done here just yet, as Argenta also holds a contest tournament hosted by her, Dahlia, and Zoe for winning the Grand Festival. Dawn participates alongside Kenny, Ursula, Marina, Mira, and Marley. Using their knowledge of contests, either research or experience, they all do well. But eventually it comes down to Dawn versus Marine, which ends in the former's victory. Dawn wins the tournament as Zoe looks on with a smile. After that, Ash battles Dirac in the Battle Castle, and it's a 4-on-4 between Torterra, Staraptor, Pikachu, and Weasel versus Ninetales and Folion on Dirac's own Staraptor and Gallade. Oh my gosh, his last battles, Dirac isn't well. He doesn't come out the first victory. His intense battling style and advantage of his Pokemon's abilities unfortunately results in Ash's defeat. Watching the battle and wanting to help, Lady Caitlin trains Ash and helps him overcome her butler's skills. Ash knows Pokemon's ability. After 2 days of training, getting to know each other, Ash and Dirac have a rematch. Caitlin's training and advice pays off. And after defeating Gallade, Ash wins the Tower Print. Ash arrives at the Battle Tower, where he surprisingly reunites with Barry, who challenged his dad earlier but lost. Seeing Ash, he battles him to see if he's worthy of rematching his father, so they have a full battle. Ash and Barry show their growth in the Sinnoh League, and it comes down to Lucario versus Empoleon. And in the end, Lucario pushes through, wins the battle, and Barry actually takes the loss well. I mean, he's of course bummed, but he tells Ash to do his best. Ash thanks Barry, and the two agree to battle again. With all that done, Ash finally has his Battle Frontier Tower challenge battle against Palmer, and it's a 3v3 between Lucario, Pikachu, and Torterra versus Abomasnow, Dragonite, and Rhyperior. This battle shows improvement from last time. There's no will overpower. Well, there is, but of course, this one's a huge lot of fun. Eventually, it comes down to the same match as the Town Festival, except this time, Torterra wins, redeeming the loss and earning Ash the Tower Point into making him master of the Sinnoh Battle Frontier. After receiving his certificate, Ash gets a call and reunites with his friends. They reveal themselves to be the stat trainers who all specialize in a different stat. Riley comes up with a challenge for Ash to defeat his friends and get to him. Ash accepts, but first Pokemon need healing, so Brock steps up, and during this, he shows everything he's learned on his dogger training, and as a result, Vulpix evolves into Ninetales. Once that's done, they all head to a different area of the Frontier Place, where Ash is 1v1 against Chera, Mira, Buck, and Marley, using his Sinnohmons. The top two of the battle are even, and the bottom two are rough, but Ash overcomes them all and finally gets to reach Riley at the top of the arena. Ash, Riley, and their Lucario greet each other warmly, having waited for this moment, and both ready to finally settle it. 1-on-1, Lucario versus Lucario. Rematch! The match is intense from start to finish, and both Lucarios are locked in, wanting to win. The two are pretty even, as well. Riley's Lucario was strong. Ash's experience with his Lucario keeps them in this. Ultimately, it comes out to an Aura Spear clash, combined with their trainer's aura. While Riley's almost succeeds, Ash's pushes through to absorb his opponent's Aura Spear and throw at Riley's Lucario, landing the final strike. Ash and Lucario win and redeem their island defeat. The two rivals give each other a nod of respect, say their goodbyes, and leave the island by boat. Following this victory, the gang head back to Twin Leaf Town. Of course, we get the events of Memories Are Made of Bliss. Honestly, this episode plays out like canon, with some differences. The being that Dawn wanted to do cons in other regions, they're staying home for a bit. James, Stone, and Cagney, as brought up earlier, and Brock's doctor decision having more weight since he had the Battle Frontier to experience it more. We, of course, then get the goodbye scene, where Ash and Brock say bye to Dawn and board a boat back to Kanto, but not before Ash and Dawn share one last high five. As the boat departs, Dawn waves her friends off, especially if Ash reminds her the word she always says, no need to worry. Dawn thanks them for everything, and of course shares a hug with Piplup, except for their own adventures to come. We then cut back to Ash and Brock, now in Kanto at a familiar crossroad, the one all the way back at the Battle Frontier. And with that, the two longtime Kanto buddies wish each other luck the best in their respective paths, and part ways one last time. After a nice walk, Ash and Pikachu overlook Pallet Town on the hill. Ash happily tells Pikachu they're home, and they run the rest of the way. bringing their Sinnoh adventure to a close. And that's where we're going to end this video. So, what did you all think? What did you think of this remastered / updated version of the original DP? Would you like from the original? Would you didn't like it? And let me know in the comments what you would have changed and respectfully, please. With that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Laters.